March 25th, Judges 19, 20, and 21. Judges 19. And it came to be in those days, when there was no sovereign in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the far side of the mountains of Ephraim. And he took for himself a concubine from Bethlehem in Yehudah. And his concubine committed whoring against him, and went away from him to her father's house at Bethlehem in Judea. And there was 4 new moons of days. And her husband arose and went after her, to speak to her heart and bring her back, having his servant and a couple donkeys with him. And she brought him into her father's house. And the father of the young woman saw him, and he was glad to meet him. And his father-in-law, the young woman's father, took hold of him, and he dwelt with him 3 days, and they ate and drank and spent the nights there. And it came to be on the 4th day that they arose early in the morning, and he prepared to leave. But the young woman's father said to his son-in-law, "Refresh your heart with a piece of bread, and afterward go your way." So they sat down, and the 2 of them ate and drank together. And the young woman's father said to the man, "Please agree to stay all night, and let your heart be glad." And when the man arose to go, his father-in-law urged him, so he spent the night there again. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to go. But the young woman's father said, "Please refresh your heart." So they delayed until afternoon, and both of them ate. And the man arose to go, he and his concubine and his servant. But his father-in-law, the young woman's father, said to him, "See, the day is now drawing toward evening. Please spend the night. See, the day is coming to an end. Stay here and let your heart be glad. And you shall rise early tomorrow for your journey, and you shall go to your tent." But the man would not stay that night, and he arose and left, and came to a place opposite Yebus, that is Jerusalem. And with him there were 2 saddled donkeys, and his concubine with him. They were near Yebus, and the day was far spent. And the servant said to his master, "Please come, let us turn aside into the city of the Jebusites, and spend the night in it." And his master said to him, "Let us not turn aside here into a city of foreigners, who are not of the children of Israel, but we shall pass over to Geba." And he said to his servant, "Come, let us draw near to one of these places, and spend the night in Geba or in Ramah." And they passed over and went their way. And the sun went down on them near Geba, which belongs to Benjamin. And they turned off there to go in to spend the night in Geba. So he went in, and he sat down in the open square of the city, for no one would take them into his house to spend the night. But see, an old man came in from his work in the field at evening, who also was from the mountains of Ephraim, and he was sojourning in Geba, whereas the men of the place were Benjaminites. And when he lifted up his eyes, he saw the traveler in the open square of the city. And the old man said, "Where are you going, and where do you come from?" And he said, "We are passing over from Bethlehem and Yehudah to the other side of the mountains of Ephraim. I am from there. I went to Bethlehem and Yehudah, and I am going to the house of Yah, but there is no one taking me into his house. Yet there is both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for myself, and for your female servant, and for the young man who is with your servant. There is no lack of any matter." And the old man said, "Peace be with you. However, let all your needs be on me. Only do not spend the night in the open square." And he brought him into his house, and gave fodder to the donkeys. And they washed their feet, and ate and drank. They were making their hearts glad, and see, men in the city, sons of Belial, surrounded the house, beating on the door. And they spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who came to your house, so that we know him." But the man, master of the house, went out to them and said, "No, my brothers, I beg you, do no evil. Since this man has come into my house, do not do this folly. Look, here is my maiden daughter and the man's concubine. Let me bring them out and humble them, and do to them what is good in your eyes. But do not do such a foolish matter to this man." But the men would not listen to him. So the man took hold of his concubine and brought her out to them. And they knew her and rolled themselves on her all night until morning, and let her go when the day began to break. And as morning appeared, the woman came back and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was, till it was light. And her master rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. And he saw his concubine fallen at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, "Rise up and let us go." But there was no answer. Then he took her on the donkey, and the man rose and went to his place, and came into his house, and took a knife, and took hold of his concubine, and cut her up limb by limb into 12 pieces, and sent her throughout all the borders of Israel. And it came to be that all who saw it said, "There has never been, and there has not been seen the like of this, from the day that the children of Israel came up from the land of Mitzrayim until this day. Set your heart on it, take counsel, and speak up." Judges 20. And all the children of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, and from the land of Gilead, and the congregation assembled as one man before Yah at Mitzvah. And the leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of Elohim, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew the sword. And the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mitzvah. And the children of Israel said, "Speak up. How did this evil come about?" And the man, a Levite, husband of the woman who was murdered, answered and said, "My concubine and I went into Geba, which belongs to Benjamin, to spend the night. And the masters of Geba rose against me and surrounded the house at night because of me. They thought to kill me, but instead they humbled my concubine, and she died. Then I took my concubine and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the land of the inheritance of Israel, because they committed wickedness and folly in Israel. Look, you are all children of Israel. Speak and give yourself counsel, and give counsel here, and give your counsel here." And all the people rose as one man, saying, "Let not one of us go to his tent, nor any of us turn back to his house. And now, this is what we do to Geba. Go against it by lot, and we shall take 10 men out of every 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 out of every 1,000, and 1,000 out of every 10,000, to make food for the people, to prepare for their going to Geba and Benjamin, for all the folly they did in Israel." And all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, "What is this evil that has come about among you? And now give us the men, the sons of Belial, who are in Geba, so that we put them to death, and put away evil from Israel." But the children of Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brothers, the children of Israel. So the children of Benjamin gathered together from their cities in Geba to go to battle against the children of Israel. And from their cities at that time, the children of Benjamin registered 26,000 men who drew the sword, besides the inhabitants of Geba, who registered 700 chosen men. Among all this people, there were 700 chosen men who were left-handed. Each one could sling a stone at a hair's breadth and not miss. And besides Benjamin, the men of Israel registered 400,000 men who drew a sword. All of these were men of battle. And the children of Israel rose up and went to Bethel to ask of Elohim. And they said, "Who of us go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin?" And Yah said, "Yehuda first." And the children of Israel rose in the morning and encamped against Geba. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in battle array to fight against them at Geba. And the children of Benjamin came out of Geba, and on that day cut down to the ground 22,000 men of Israel. But the people, the men of Israel, strengthened themselves, and again formed the battle line at the place where they had put themselves in array on the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before Yah until evening, and asked Yah, saying, "Should I again draw near for battle against the children of my brother Benjamin?" And Yah said, "Go up against him." And the children of Israel drew near to the children of Benjamin on the second day. And Benjamin went out against them from Geba on the second day, and cut down to the ground 18,000 more of the children of Israel. All these drew the sword. And the children of Israel, even all the people, went up and came to Bethel, and wept, and sat there before Yah, and fasted that day until evening. And they offered ascending offerings and peace offerings before Yah. And the children of Israel asked of Yah. The ark of the covenant of Elohim was there in those days. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aharon, stood before it in those days, saying, "Should I yet again go out to battle against the children of my brother Benjamin, or should I cease?" And Yah said, "Go up, for tomorrow I give them into your hand." And Israel set ambushers all around Gibeon. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in battle array against Geba as at the other times. And the children of Benjamin came out to meet the people, drawn away from the city. And they began to strike some of the people, slain, as at other times, in the highways, of which one went up to Bethel, and the other to Geba in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, "They are going to be smitten before us, as previously." But the children of Israel said, "Let us flee and draw them away from the city to the highways." And all the men of Israel rose from their place, and put themselves in battle array at Baal Tamar. And the ambush of Israel broke forth from their position on Ma'areh Leba. And 10,000 chosen men from all Israel came against Geba, and the battle was fierce. But they did not know that calamity was close to them. And Yah smote Benjamin before Israel. And the children of Israel destroyed 25,100 men on that day in Benjamin. All these drew the sword. And the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, and the men of Israel had given ground to the Benjamites, because they trusted in the ambush that they had set up against Geba. And the ambush hurried and came against Geba, and the ambush spread out and struck the entire city with the edge of the sword. And the appointed signal between the men of Israel and the ambush was that they would make a great cloud of smoke rise up from the city. Then the men of Israel would turn in battle, and Benjamin began to strike dead about 30 of the men of Israel. For For they said, they are indeed smitten before us, as at the first battle. Then the cloud began to rise from the city in a column of smoke. And the Benjaminites looked behind them and saw the entire city going up in smoke to the heavens. And when the men of Israel turned back, the men of Benjamin were troubled, for they saw that calamity was close to them. And they turned their backs before the men of Israel toward the way of the wilderness. But the battle overtook them. And while those who had come out of the cities were destroying them in their midst, they surrounded the Benjaminites and pursued them, and with ease trampled them down as far as the front of Geba toward the east. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All of these were mighty men. And they turned and fled toward the wilderness of the rock of Rimmah. And they cut down 5,000 of them on the highways, and followed after them up to Gibom, and struck 2,000 of them. And all who fell of Benjamin that day were 25,000 men who drew the sword. All of these were mighty men. But 600 men turned and fled toward the wilderness to the rock of Rimmah, and they dwelt at the rock of Rimmah for 4 new moons. And the men of Israel turned back against the children of Benjamin, and struck them with the edge of the sword from every city, men and beasts, all who were found, and they set fire to all the cities they came to. Judges 21. And the men of Israel had sworn an oath at Mitzvah, saying, not one of us shall give his daughter to a Benjamin as a wife. So the people came to Bethel, and sat there until evening before Elohim, and lifted up their voices and wept bitterly, and said, O Yah, Elohim of Israel, why has this come about in Israel, that there should be one tribe missing in Israel? And it came to be on the morrow that the people rose early and built a slaughter place there, and brought ascending offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, who is there among all the tribes of Israel who did not come up with the assembly to Yah? For they had made a great oath concerning anyone who had not come up to Yah at Mitzvah, saying, he shall certainly be put to death. And the children of Israel were sorry for Benjamin their brother, and said, one tribe is cut off from Israel today. What do we do for wives for those who remain, seeing we have sworn to Yah, by Yah, to not give them our daughters as wives? And they said, which one of the tribes of Israel did not come up to Mitzvah, to Yah? And see, no one had come up to the camp from Yabesh Galad to the assembly. For when the people called a roll, see, not one of the inhabitants of Yabesh Galad was there. And the congregation sent out there 12,000 of their bravest men, and commanded them, saying, go, and you shall strike the inhabitants of Yabesh Galad with the edge of the sword, even the women and children. And this is what you do. Put under the ban every male, and every woman who has known man by lying with him. And they found among the inhabitants of Yabesh Galad 400 young maidens who had not known a man. And they brought them to the camp of Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. And all the congregation sent and spoke to the children of Benjamin who were at the rock of Rimmon, and proclaimed peace to them. And Benjamin turned back at that time, and they gave them the woman whom they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Galad. But even so, there were not enough for them. And the people were sorry for Benjamin, because Yah had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. And the elders of the congregation said, what do we do for wives for those who remain, since the women have been destroyed out of Benjamin? And they said, there is an inheritance for the survivors of Benjamin, and no tribe is to be destroyed from Israel. but we are unable to give them wives from our daughters. For the children of Israel have sworn an oath, saying, Cursed be the one who gives a wife to Benjamin. So they said, See, there is a yearly festival of Yah in Shiloh, which is north of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and south of Lebanah. And they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, Go, lie in wait in the vineyards and watch. And see, when the daughters of Shiloh come out to perform their dances, then you shall come out from the vineyards, and every man catch a wife for himself from the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And it shall be, when their fathers or their brothers come to us to complain, that we shall say to them, Favor us with them, because we did not take a wife for any of them in battle, neither have you given them to them, making yourselves guilty of your oath. And the children of Benjamin did so, and took enough wives for their number from those who danced, whom they caught. Then they went and returned to their inheritance, and they rebuilt the cities and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel went from there at that time, each one to his tribe and clan, and they went from there, each one to his inheritance. In those days there was no sovereign in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes.